right, and we're here recording on this wonderful Monday, March 22nd of the year 2021. I'm here with Mohamad Merilan, and I'm Arturo Gonzalez. We're going to be talking about MFOS and other topics related to that. Would you, my lovely guest, please introduce yourself and tell us just some background information to get started?
Yeah, sure. My name is Mohamad Merilan. My parents are Haitian, so I come from a Haitian background. Was born in Fort Lauderdale, so first generation Haitian American, and basically grew up in Orlando most of my life. Went to University of Florida, so thankful for the Machen Florida Opportunity Scholarship Program. Eventually end up here and working on Wall Street, and it's just been a blast ever since. So I'm just grateful for all the opportunities.
All right. So my first question. So you were interviewed for the business magazine Gainesville, and in there you told them about how you first even heard about college. Would you be willing to share a sort of long form about that story?
Yeah, I tell that story to everyone because I grew up in an environment where mostly all you saw success was being a basketball player or an NFL player, or you became a neighborhood pharmacist, if you know what I mean, right? So these are the ideas when it came to success. So when really I believe success is how you impact people, right? And so at that time, I was very ignorant because my parents, they didn't go to school. They had to leave school to be able to help their family. And there was a teacher in sixth grade. Her name was Cynthia Davis. And she said, Mohamad, I will not let you end up becoming a product in your environment, which the areas I listed before. And she's like, I can see you doing more with your life. And I do believe that the best 4 words you can tell someone is, I believe in you. And so she did that for me. And I believe that she spoke that life into me, that I'll be going to college. And she said, you're going to college and you're going to find a way to pay for it. And lo and behold, it was the Machen Florida Opportunity Scholarship.
So at that time, at that young age, what did that mean to you, going to college? What did you understand that to really be? And what would you be doing, and how would that affect your life?
I understood nothing. I mean, at that time, our environment really shapes us. So if all we're exposed to is just that type of environment, drug, gangs, and you talk about college, it just seems like this foreign entity to you. And that's why I described to everyone when I was told at 12 years old, yeah, you're going to college. That's the best way for you, the best route for you to get out of there. And so for me, it really took a while to really crystallize what that really meant. And it actually took until 16 or 17 when I actually went and toured the University of Florida's campus. I thought it was Disneyland because I never experienced that before. No one around me really knew what it was. And so it was always a discovery process. Even till now, even coming to Wall Street was always a discovery process because these are all things that's been happening for the first time for myself and in my family.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your family. You said in the article that you were the one person who spoke English. And were you the oldest sibling, or were you a middle child? What was that situation, first off?
Yeah, so I was number 6 out of 8 kids. So I was, as far as my parents together, I was the oldest. And so I was speaking English and translating for my mom. Obviously, my 2 younger siblings was right behind me, and they were learning English as well. But I took up that leadership role within my family because my dad left at an early age. So when it came to mortgage claims, when it came to accidents, when it came to any type of loans, bills, you name it, that adults have to take care of, I was handling that at 12 years old.
So how did that affect you in the long run, do you think?
There were pros and cons to it. I don't believe I really had a normal childhood. I believe like all the stresses of an adult, you're giving that to a 12-year-old. So when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, I was dealing with that. When usually at that age, that child's developing, they're learning boundaries, they're learning values. Those things I didn't get to develop. I wasn't taught those things. But with those things, when it came to finances and it came to resilience and stress management, those are very beneficial, which has added so much value to me now that I know how to balance a checkbook, that I know how to write checks, that I know I can deal with insurance companies, that I can deal with those that are more older than me and have a more awareness. So I've gained that awareness as well. And those things have become very applicable to my lifestyle currently.
There are a lot of people I know my age who don't even know, half of what you just listed. So,
Yeah, and it became a norm for me. When it came coming into college, I thought it was a norm because that was my environment. I'm like, okay, everybody knows how to pay their own bills or take care of their finances or having to do those things. I thought that was a normal thing, but I was like, wow. That's when I started realizing that my childhood wasn't really so normal.
So when you came home and you started talking about college, how did your parents understand that, or how did they see that when you were discussing that with them?
At 12 when I was told about that?
Well, at 12 and at 16 when you went on the tour, in the early days before you were applying to colleges, how were those discussions at home about going to college?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because some things is really difficult to translate. Like I remember when going to college and explaining different organizations and my leadership roles, I couldn't really explain that to them because that's something they never experienced. Like that's like someone in engineering telling someone, a physician that never studied engineering, something is very foreign, right? That language is very foreign. So for them, it was a completely different language. I was speaking to them about FAFSA. They know nothing about FAFSA. They know nothing about ACT, SAT, none of that. Waivers, none, like anything. So those are things, as I told you, it's always been about discovery and always seeking out outside resources for help. So that's why mentorship, people like Miss Davis, people like my golf coach, people like my professor in college, these people have been crucial and pinnacle to my success. I don't really believe, I'm out. It took a village to get here. And like I said in the article, really took a village and people around me to really get to where I am today.
Well, we're going to get to that idea of mentorship later. So keep that in mind.
For sure.
One more thing about your early, we'll say high school era. What was your high school experience like? And how would you say that affected your attitude or outlook when you came to college? Because for many people, that's a very formative 4 years. And so I want to know how that may have affected you, if at all.
Yeah, I think it really helped that I was in the IB program. We were getting some more higher level education. And as far as a lot of more exposure as well, because we got introduced to more resources, which was very helpful, like the PSAT. I took the PSAT. That's something I never knew of or taking at all, because I think apparently I found out that 7th graders were taking the SAT. I was like, oh, wow. So these are things that came along later. So high school, we got some more resources. We were able to go on some college tours to really put together and crystallize what this whole college thing was about. So we went to UCF campus, USF's campus, and I was like, oh, okay, this is really, really nice, right? So I remember UF, we saw $1 million telescope. I was like, this is the most money I've ever been in front of in my life. So it was really great experiences that I was able to go on being in high school, and people like the Alliance program from UF coming in and helping us to apply to college because we know there were certain resources, a lack of knowledge that we didn't have that, coming from our environment, we didn't have access to. So I think the key word is exposure, more exposure to things going to high school.
So with regards to your friends and your siblings who may not have had that same level of exposure, what did they think about your adventures into college and looking into all those things? What did they think about it? What was their perspective from what you know?
Yeah, I really do believe in sharing. These things were just very exciting. So I was just big on sharing these things with them. And fortunately for my younger 2 siblings, they ended up going to college as well because they saw the excitement, they saw the possibilities. We were able to dream a little bit bigger, right? And so I think conviction is something big. So if people see you're excited, they're inspired by you. They want that for themselves as well, because humans are always in search of meaning. So I think that's something that really was exciting them and saying, okay, there's more ways to impact people than just becoming a NFL player of ball. Not like there's nothing wrong with that, but that might not be the path for everyone, right? So there's different possibilities college can give you. And I think that opened up the eyes for a lot of people around me when I was sharing that with them.
So let's get to when you applied and you got in and you got the MFOS scholarship. What was that like? What was that experience like when you learned that everything was going to be covered?
It was a game changer. I've always said it, a dream without a plan is just a wish, right? And so I believe that MFOS was just another piece to the plan of having a better life than just where I was living at. And so MFOS, I always tell Dr. Pendleton was a game changer for me, and I still stay in contact with her today, thanking her and her team for guidance, because MFOS program is more than just a scholarship. It's really a mentorship program. It's really a program full of knowledge and guidance and support system. Because yes, we have money going to school paid for, but we don't know how to budget. We don't, like, in the emotional intelligence, the dramas and the traumas that we're going through at home. My mom was carjacked spring of 2015, and the MFOS program was there when I was going through that tough time. My sister got stage 4 breast cancer fall of 2015 and died 2018. So MFOS program was always there when times were tough. They were speaking to my professors saying, hey, Mom is going through this tough time, alleviate some of that stress with the assignment. So there's a lot of stresses a lot of these students go through being it through the MFOS program, that they provide us support, because it's one thing to get in there, but how can we help them stay and create sustainable results, right? And I think that's what the MFOS program really helped me a lot. Without them, I do not believe I'll be here.
Can you share a little more about what they did to help you with those two pretty tough events? I mean, those are, very, very, that's some hardship to go through, and what they did to help you with that?
Yeah, so I remember fall of 2014, it was one of my worst semesters at UF, just mentally, so much things going out at home, bad relationship that I went through. And that was the lowest GPA I ever had that semester. It was a 1.81 GPA. And I remember, I'll never forget, they just care. I think that's a big word about MFOS. It's not just about money. They actually care about the students. I remember Will Atkins, he sent out an email saying, it's like he knew, or he knows students are going through something. And he sent out an email saying, hey, if you had a tough semester, reach out and let's set up a time to speak. And I did. I said, hey, this is the time to reach out to help because I'm going through a tough time. And then that happened in January 2015 when I started speaking to him. And then literally January, that same month, my mom got carjacked. And then right away, I sent an email to Dr. Pendleton. And she said, Mohamad, go home, because I was already headed home already. And I sent an email that morning, right? And Dr. Pendleton, she sent an email to all my professors. She said she let them know my situation, exams, homework, all that was postponed. So I don't have to stress about that, because my main priority is my mom, right? She had to go to the hospital because her blood pressure shot up, because the burglar, the thief, he used a military grade taser on my mom, which could have killed her. So these things were all, I'm not focused on at school at that time. So they really helped alleviate a lot of stress of a student that they're probably worried about a grade or GPA. Those, at the time, that's not what you're concerned about. So they really helped facilitate those higher level issues that you can think of when it comes to academics, and they took care of all that.
Can you tell us a little bit about what compassion would mean to you then in that context? Because I know a lot of people who they feel like big institutions, especially here at UF, like they don't have compassion. That's the word that they use for tough situations like that. And it seems like in your experience, there was some very legitimate compassion and help that they provided you for. Does that word mean anything to you in that context?
Yeah, 1,000%. I just believe it just means empathy. They showed love. It was care. And more than just seeing you as a number at University of Florida, you actually mattered. They saw you as an individual more than a class. And I believe they showed that for any individual who actually reached out, or even who didn't reach out. They had a lot of outreach. They were checking up on students. Dr. Pendleton even like always was checking up on my sister. She was like, oh, my sister went through the MFOS program. And she's always, still today, we're both graduated. She's like, Mohamad, how's your sister doing? So yes, it's during college, but it's after school as well. They care, and that's compassion. I believe that's what compassion is about.
That's amazing. And I know this might be a tough topic, but how did they help you out when your sister got sick and passed away? Because that must have been even harder. Right.
I believe it's just, once again, support. They were there to listen. They were there to help me once again with my academics. That will happen in 2015. So my professors, they were very manageable. It wasn't like they were insensitive when she was diagnosed. So I just believe it was just a support system, because when people go through those times, people just need someone to listen and just show them that they care and that they love them, and know that they're not alone, because this life, like as we spoke before, this call is already tough enough. Why go it alone when we can go through it together?
That's amazing. That's very inspirational. So let's talk a little bit about this support network that you had. Could you describe the network? You've talked about MFOS and you mentioned a few other people like your golf instructor. Can you give us maybe a little roadmap of who you had help you out during your time here and afterwards?
Yeah. I think once again, it started from when I was in middle school. You had Miss Davis, and then high school, I had my golf coach who really became my father figure and took me under his wing and showed me the game of golf, which the game of golf had a lot of life principles like perseverance, integrity, all these values that I wasn't really taught growing up, right? So I learned a lot of principles and values from there. And then got to college, and man, it's a plethora of people I can name. You have Dr. Pendleton, Will Atkins, you have my fraternity brothers, NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. MLT is a national program that has fellows at the University of Florida. So Rochelle Stansel, it was a lot of people that really helped shape me at the University of Florida. Oh my gosh, Dr. Lindner, she's associate provost there now. So she was amazing. I know I had an issue with one of my classes, and she was really there for me fall 17 because I was really concerned about graduating, and she really helped me out there. And so even after school, I still kept in contact. Oh my gosh, Miss Wade, the College of Journalism, she was an advisor. She helped me transition from college engineering to the College of Journalism. So the list can go on of the people that really impacted me at UF. And I still speak with them after the fact I left UF as well.
So as a sort of open generic question, what does mentorship mean to you?
No, that's a great question. There's actually a really good book called The Go-Giver, and it really talks about what mentorship really is about. And I really don't think believe it's about babysitting someone. It's just a guiding light, someone who's been through it, someone who has that experience, because experience can't be read, right? You can read as many books as you want, but someone who's actually been through it can really help you. And because you can either learn from your mistakes or you can learn from someone else's. And so if you learn from someone else's mistakes, you shorten that gap and you get the full time. So I really do believe that's the role of a mentor. They're that guiding light, and they really help you get to the door, and it's up to you to get through it.
Would you say that more often than not, you sought out mentors, or did they find you?
I would say both. I'll definitely say I took a lot of initiative as well, seeking out, I think more in college, that I sought out more of building relationships that really were pinnacle to my success, and also too building relationships to help other people as well, because I don't believe that I should have all this knowledge. I really do believe about sharing the knowledge and adding value to a greater whole, general population of people. So I believe it was a two-way street there. But prior to college, I do believe they just going on a certain path, they found me. And then I believe after college, I became more intentional of seeking out mentorship.
How did that process come about? Because I know that when you're to go out and find people, that is a skill that you become good at. That is something that you learn. How did you learn to seek out people who you could in turn learn from?
Yeah, I think that's something Professor Whitney really helped me really learn about, as far as I learned a lot of old school things about writing thank you cards. That's something that I believe is kind of dying out with the digital age. So I was just really big on thank you cards, always reaching out. And also when it came to relationship building, I was not always seeing how I could take, but more to how to give. How can I add value to you? Right. And even till now, the people that I built relationships with at UF, they've given so much to me. So I'm always asking, how can I add value to you? How can I add value to the students and share what I've learned so that they don't have to make the same mistakes that I did, so they can succeed me? And I really do believe that's what success is about, that those who come behind you go past you.
Let's talk about that then. How have you given back? How have you mentored other people? In fact, I think it may be useful to begin with, when would you consider was the first time that you mentored someone else?
I believe mentorship started from early as high school, actually maybe middle school, because once I saw how she poured so much into me, I was staying after school to help other students because that's what she showed me. So I was doing it as well. And then I got to high school and I went back and would help in her grade papers and talk to the students. And anytime Ms. Davis went to another school, I would go to that school and tell them, hey, I grew up right there in the hood too. I grew up with all that violence in the home and also at school. But guess what? Like, here I am now. And I'm not saying I'm the end all be all. It's just really more about a mindset of resilience to say, hey, just show them that someone, like an example, really. I think that's the key word, example. I just wanted to be an example of the people that I've poured into me and just show them this product that say, hey, you can do this as well. And so going from high school, going back to middle schools and speaking to them, I've spoken at Piedmont, Carver Middle School, so many different other middle schools. And then going back to Jones when I went to college, when I went to Jones High School, we go back to Jones High School, we had a huge event where we was telling them our experience of college and what that experience is like, what organizations we joined, understanding about leadership. And then after leaving UF, once again, I'm here in New York. Now I'm going back and now we're in COVID in this virtual platform and saying, hey, this is how it is in the corporate world. Look from where I came from, look to where I am now. What are the principles and values I've learned? How can you apply them? And once again, how can you learn from the mistakes that I did and how you can customize your life and really create your own experience and not really keep looking left or right, but figure out where you want to go and figure out what's the best way to get there. So there's been many ways I do that. And that's really more on a broad audience. And then there's individual people that I speak to, either fraternity brothers, people from National Society of Black Engineers, fellows from MLT, that I'm helping them on different platforms to see where they want to go based on their goals. And I'm just sharing that information because I do believe like knowledge is the best commodity that we have. Neither of us are losing, but only to gain.
It's admirable. Yeah, no, I love that quote. You're right. Knowledge is not a zero-sum game. It's created anytime you share things.
Exactly.
So you mentioned the National Fraternity for Black Engineers. Would you be willing to share a bit about your work with them in college and how that went? Yeah,
National Society of Black Engineers, that was basically my first family, my first community I was a part of when I went to UF. When I came in as a general engineering major, and they really helped form my experiences about corporate America, professional development, etiquette, organizational skills, leadership. That was my first experience into all of that. Mentorship, because I had a mentor, I had plenty of mentors in NSBE, and also started mentoring through there as well as I started getting to different levels in college as a junior or senior, things like that. And going to conferences, meeting people, different people in the country, learning about different professions in the engineering space, getting to know many different companies, and I actually started my network from there, building relationships with companies from there. So it was an amazing experience. And I love the fact that I started out UF being a part of NSBE.
You mentioned etiquette. What do you mean by that?
Just etiquette as far as dining, because we had some dinners that companies would come in and speak, and I didn't know nothing about the spoons or the forks or anything like that. So just learning how to do that, making sure I'm not eating with my mouth open, just being considerate as far as probably if I have to spit something out, put a napkin in my face and take it out of my mouth, and just proper when you're speaking to someone. Eye contact, interview etiquette, a lot of these etiquettes on different platforms. When you're speaking to someone, making sure you're listening more than you're speaking, so many different nuances, a lot of soft skills, basically, I would say as well. Okay, that's interesting because I still can't really tell any of the spoons apart. If you had any nuggets of wisdom that you would want someone to know about that kind of etiquette, that kind of world, what would you tell people? Yeah, something I used to always forget was putting my napkin on my lap. So that's something I still sometimes forget now, depending on, I guess, who I'm eating with, but that's something that I try to make as common as possible. Just put a napkin on my lap in case anything fell, it'll fall on the napkin. And then I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but I remember they said work in to out with your utensils. And then obviously you have the dessert spoon or fork above the plate and you use that for your dessert. So that's how I usually remember It's how to eat. And then when you're finished, you put the knife and the fork on the plate horizontally or diagonally, so the waiter knows to pick it up. So things like that.
In some conversations that I've had with people, they kind of push back on the need for etiquette, and they say that it's unauthentic. What would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I really can just go off of I just go off of feel. I just go off of if that's what I was taught as far as when I was coming up, and as far as mentorship. When I remember I used to eat like whatever. I didn't care about the napkin or anything like that. But I guess at the time, in a professional setting, I would do that. I guess when I'm sitting down with vendors or even now here on Wall Street, I guess I'm more aware to do that as far as putting the napkin down. But I'm really just in serving my environment. I think emotional intelligence and observation is really important. And yeah, I think I think it's just based on the setting that you are. I mean, if I'm hanging out with friends, I don't really care. But if I'm working with professionals, I think it's just depending on the environment, how you feel. But if, like, for example, let's say if I forget, I believe if I forget or something like that, I'm not killing myself for it. I believe that's being authentic, in my opinion.
Now, I want to go back to something that you said a while ago, and something that you also covered in the business magazine of Gainesville. Mm-hmm. You said that your first impression of UF, that it was like a different world. And in the article, you said it was like a utopia. Mm-hmm. So in what way did your actual experience, once you got here, once you settled in, once you became a student, in what way did your actual experience live up to that first impression or come a little short?
Yeah, I think, just coming from where I came from, I just thought it was just like amazing. There's nothing wrong with it. I thought it was just like, and I think I was just exaggerating a little bit with the utopia because like, obviously there's a lot I didn't know, right? I just like, wherever I came from is better than where it was. That's what I was thinking. But when I got there, obviously you can go anywhere in the world. There's issues everywhere, right? And I believe University of Florida, they're doing what they need to do to advance many different issues, equality, diversity, inclusion. Everybody has to work on those things. So, obviously, I believe I'm really big on looking at the positive and looking at what things are going right and looking at things as not necessarily negatives, but growth opportunities. And how can I play a part in that and not really be a complainer, but help find solutions? And I really do believe that that's what my mission was at UF. And I do believe that I left it better than I came in.
Well, what would be one example you'd say of an aspect that you left better than when you came?
Yeah, I know. So one thing is that I love combining the different areas of my life to different organizations or networks I'm a part of. So I remember from learning golf, I thought it was just a great opportunity for more minorities to get to learn the game and network, because you have so many high paid professionals or millionaires playing this game, and minorities are not really too tapped in and getting this type of information and knowledge. I really do believe knowledge is one of the like I said, best commodities to know. So if we can get into a space to get some of that knowledge, I think it's powerful. So one thing I helped get connected to was the University of Florida golf course. It's called the Mark Bostic Golf Course. Started a semester clinics. So every semester, our members will actually go out to University of Florida golf course and learn how to play the game. And mind you, they don't necessarily have to become professionals, but if they can at least learn the basic skills, the terminology, and go into the corporate world or these different networking events and speak, then it's just another area that they can connect on a different level and just really be unique in that situation. So I think that's one of the areas that I really was able to leave behind as far as my legacy.
Would you want to share anything else about your golf experience, about anything that you personally took away from it? Or would you like to speak any more about what your high school golf mentor said? Anything on the topic of golf, basically. It sounds like it's a pretty important part of your journey here.
Yeah, it's been huge. I learned one thing that I didn't know what the term was, but values. I think those things like integrity, perseverance, like my golf coach would say, keep on keeping on, right? That was just an old school term for perseverance. And so I learned a lot of values and principles from working with him. And I saw what influence looked like. He had a lot of influence. He impacted so many people, and he's what success looked like. He didn't do it for the money. He did it to impact people, because I really do believe success is about what you leave in people and not what you leave with them. And I think that's what was huge. And he just changed my life. He was just a great example, and not just in golf, but just in life. And he was just a great golfer in general. So I just wanted to be a good golfer, just like he was. And I learned as best to my ability that I could. And I just wanted other people to learn how to play, whether they were black or white, whatever. I just wanted more people to learn the game of golf, because for me, it was just really fun. You learn a lot of principles. That's a lot of many different sports. So it's whatever you want to, whatever your taste is. But one thing it really taught me was accountability, because if a golf goes off into the trees, you do an errant shot, I can't blame anybody else, because my coach would say, the golf club is dead. You can't blame it. You got to blame yourself. So.
Would you say you're a good golfer? Did you reach that goal?
I'll say I'm pretty decent. I have a pretty good golf swing. I'll say that.
As a lighthearted question, what do you think about mini golf?
Mini golf is cool. I think it's a great entry point to get into the game. That's why I love Top Golf. I believe it gave a lot of exposure to the wider audience. I believe is the same thing what Henry Ford did, right? He made the car available to the masses. And just like golf was known as an elite sport for the wealthy, same thing as the car at one point. The car was for the wealthy. Henry Ford made it available for the masses. So that's why I think mini golf and what Top Golf did for the general population.
I would wonder if you can combine the two, make a Top Golf and then a mini golf at the end. I think that might be a little dangerous.
I think the person who kind of did that was Tiger Woods. He has something called pop stroke.
Pop stroke. What is that?
It's like a mini golf, but Top Golf version of it. Yeah, pop stroke. Eat, putt, and drink. So it's like a miniature golf, but Top Golf version of it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you also mentioned that you work with your fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. Is there any stories or any lessons that you learned from them that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I ended up becoming president of the fraternity. I think is one of the most rewarding roles that I had at University of Florida. Just learning about delegation, learning about leadership, learning that leadership is about influence and caring about people and having love in community. And once again, it's just a lot of lessons I learned from that. It taught me a lot about resilience as well, because you're responsible for an organization. There's a lot of things we had to do within the city. So learning about the government, the police paperwork, we worked with the Gainesville Police Department, filling out paperwork with them and working with student activities and involvement. So I just learned a lot about processes, a lot about leadership, a lot more about people, and a lot more about event planning and insurance, all these different things. So it was really a rewarding role. And we've done a lot for the community. I think that's one of those roles and organizations that showed me what community service and community impact was about.
What would you say you learned about people there?
I just learned that there's a lot of different types of people, and you cannot lead everyone the same. That was huge.
So a lot of people who I've spoken to, either interviewed or just casually, when they go to college, their personal identity, their national identity, it becomes more crystallized because they're exposed to, a more diverse place, or they learn more about where they came from in a substantial way. Did you experience that when you came here to UF?
Yeah, I think it was great just learning about different cultures and seeing Club Creole. I went to their events, I went to their galas. So it was great to eat more of my Haitian food and learn more about the different experience Haitians had. Those who were born in Haiti or who were born in a different part of the West Indies, or those who were born in the United States, and just understanding everybody's struggles. And I think life is about perspective. We can see a lot of different things, but we all view them differently. So I think that was huge about learning about those different cultures. And I met different people as well. I met people from India, people from Slovakia, Spain, so many different types of people. And I thought it was really exciting. And I think it really was cool to prepare me to go to university, to work on Wall Street, because I work for a global bank and I work with a lot of different types of cultures there as well. So I think it was really great learning about the different foods and cultures and people, especially going to the workplace.
Does your Haitian identity, does that affect anything about how you live your life now?
I mean, I love it. I think wherever someone comes from that's their greatest story, to come like in their struggles and their testimonies, right? I do believe that you have to pass the test to have a testimony. So I really do believe wherever background people come from, whether they came from a place of power or a place of low socioeconomic status or whatever background, everybody has struggles as human beings, right? We go through sadness, we go through happiness, we go through joy, we go through trauma. And so I believe that connects everyone through our troubles, that we're not perfect. And I think being Haitian has been a great experience, and I embrace it a lot. I love the music, I love the food, I connect with other people. And now more than ever, people are embracing more of the Haitian culture, because that's something that wasn't too celebrated when I was in elementary school, middle school, where I was bullied for it, where now it's really celebrated. People love the food. I see they're getting a lot of views on YouTube for the culture and food. And we have a lot more artists coming out that are Haitian, which is exciting. I just love it. And as should anybody who, come from the nationality.
So pivoting just a little bit, when you first came here, or really during your entire 4 years here, what was your connections to back home, like with your mother and with your siblings? I mean, I know, you seem like you were close because you came back as soon as things, as soon as some bad events happened. So did you keep in contact? Did you call every day? What was that kind of relationship like when you left the house?
Yeah, it was different because I didn't have a lot of things to relate with my family, because college is such a different experience and America is just different altogether versus how Haiti was. So there was not too much. The conversations would be the same quite often. Oh, how you doing? Are you okay? Can I help? Okay, cool. And I was the rock for the family. So there was a lot of things I was still handling, like insurance. And I was basically taking care of more people than myself. When it came to any type of issues with bills, insurance, or loans, I was still handling that while in college. So if maybe, some people are focused on just school, I focused still on finances, bills, not only for myself, but for my family. And so I think the relationship has gotten better over time, because as I got older, I was able to ask more questions about my family's history, and I was able to understand more instead of having blame or saying you didn't do this, you do that, and come to realize my family raised me the best of their ability, the best that they knew. And, it's my responsibility to rest on their shoulders, learn as much as I can, bring it back to the family, bring it back to the people, and, just help them develop.
What's an example of a question that you asked? Something that you came to understand better?
How'd you grow up? What was your mindset? How was your parents like? And that big one, how was your parents like, answered a lot of questions of how my parents raised me. And I was like, wow, so you only taught me what you knew. So I can't really blame you I stopped blaming. I stopped the whole blaming thing. And I think that's been a game changer for me, to stop blaming people for the issues that I had growing up.
So let's see. Is there anything that is on your mind that you wish someone would ask you about your college experience? Because you've certainly talked about it. You've been interviewed before. Is there ever something that you thought, why haven't I been able to share this aspect of my past yet?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think something that is relevant, I want more people to know about, is life is about finding meaning, not about the money, the cars, and all these things like that. Because once you get them, it's just like whatever, because human beings want things more than when they have them. And I've noticed that. So that's the reason why having purpose and understanding your why and having a mission has been so more fulfilling and more energizing. That's why I can say, oh yeah, I'm having a great Monday. Why? Because I'm glad that we're doing this interview, because hopefully with my story that can inspire someone else to find their purpose or help someone else, right? I don't believe it's more about taking, it's really more, life is about giving and compassion and empathy and joy. So these are the things that I want to be able to express more and share about my mission and helping people create sustainable lives, and not just only academics, but in every area of their life. And I think that's what life is truly about, just becoming the best version of yourself.
If you had to summarize your college experience in one word, how do you think you would do that? What word would you choose?
Relationships. I like, and that's what it really showed me about. I wasn't too much aware of when I was younger, and obviously there's a lot of things we had to learn. But college is about relationships. Life is about relationships. So I truly, and it shows this in studies as well. If you really have the right people around you, you're happier, you're more optimistic, you're more positive. Like we're belonging. We're literally beings of belonging. We always want to be belonging into a group or a community, right? And that's how just we are. So I believe life is just truly about the relationship. So that's why we really have to be very intentional about who we keep around us, because they really can make or break our future.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful and wonderful interview. So thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else that you would like to say on the record about MFOS or your time in college or anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, my biggest thing is just say thank you. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for what I have now. I'm just looking forward to paying it forward, looking to inspire for more people to give back and pay it forward, and just keep living a life of giving. That's what I'm excited about. And thank you, Arturo. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.